Ask Tom on Home Show.
Rex from Highlands, Texas, has a question about his AC.
Yeah, it's like partway between Houston and Baytown, I think, on I-10 is where Highlands is. Anyway,
Okay.
Rex is wondering about his HVAC system in his 1970s home, Tom. Rex writes, I just had it replaced with a 2-stage high-efficiency unit, which replaced a 28-year-old 11-SEER system. That was a rustic old thing. It seems like the house stays warm now, even when it's cool outside. I also had the attic insulated. Why did this not help me with my cooling costs?
Well, it's going to be purely on the installation on that side, because it should be at least the same you were getting before results. The 10s and 11s back 28 years ago were the premier units. They were top of the line. I still have a 10 in my house. And the beauty of those, the air conditioning contractors back then who didn't have access to all this new stuff, they could kind of create it if they knew what they were doing, and they could put bells and whistles and tweak it, and you could actually get that kind of results, which you were probably getting. So it sounded like your first one was installed really well, and I have the same luck with mine that it's still working today. But this new one, if it's put in and it's not performing, I don't even want to get into your electric usage yet, but if you're not comfortable, it's not dehumidifying, it's not cooling like it's supposed to, then you go right back to the installers and tell them exactly what you're seeing, because it's got to be with the install, or they picked the wrong unit and put just the wrong one in for your needs. And I always tell people this: everybody gets into this lower cooling costs and energy efficiency. What energy efficiency is to every human being that lives in their home is they have the greatest comfort for the lowest costs for running it. Now, comfort to me is different than comfort for you. I like to put my house at 68 degrees when I go to sleep. Not many people do that. I like to do it, so I want that ability to do it. I keep my house at 72. Some people like it at 78. So the comfort that you're wanting for yourself is where your energy efficiency sweet spot should be. Putting it at that point where you're comfortable and it runs at the lowest cost, that's energy efficiency. It's not just the lowest bill and the most uncomfortable person. And people get that confused all the time. I would call the company back right now and tell them, you're not happy, let's get it fixed, because it should perform at least to the same way your other one did, and at less cost as far as energy usage.
Yeah, I have, as you know, Tom, I work with HVAC and plumbing and electrical contractors all over the country on their marketing. And one of the things we hear regularly when they find these kind of jobs is the system was installed right, but they just hooked the new system up to the old ductwork. And a lot of times it's not going to be as efficient as it should be, because a lot of times, when you replace the plenum, you got to replace a lot of the ductwork because it wasn't sized right or it wasn't balanced. Could that be part of the problem as well? Because it may not be the size of the system he got per se. No,
absolutely. Airflow, static pressures. I don't want to bore people to death, but that's exactly what Charlie, your contractors were telling you is, with new systems, if you have a variable speed, let's take this for an example, and then I'll give you an example of going from the 50s to the 60s when we went from heaters to air conditioners. Same thing. What happens is that fan speed is going to slow down. That's what saves you. And it's going to speed up, and it's going to have a different speed on it and different capacities. It's going to measure that. And that means the airflow is going to run differently, which means the ductwork very well might not be designed. Now, in air conditioning training schools, they don't cover ductwork. That usually is covered later when you're working for a very good company that trains their employees, and they train them in the different levels as the employees go from installers to startup to technicians. So you're going through a constant training with good contractors like our certified Home Show Pro at AirTech. They do exactly that. Charlie, I'm sure many of your companies do that you deal with too. That's really important. And if you take it back to an example when air conditioners first came out, this is nothing new. We had heating systems, central heat in Texas with no air conditioning all through the 50s and even into the 40s. Then when air conditioning systems got put in, they started slapping them into the very tiny ductwork from the heaters, and it wouldn't work, and nobody could figure it out. It's because the ductwork was too small for the new air conditioning systems in 1963. So it's nothing that's new. This has been going on through the development of, probably take it back to Mr. Carrier himself, and and Mr. Lennox with the heaters and the air conditioners. But it is totally a training program that companies tend to ignore, and they shouldn't. And you're right about the ductwork.
You get the best results when you get the right know-how, and you get that by clicking on the Ask Tom button. Tom will help you out. He's a retired home builder. He's taught HVAC. He knows this stuff. He can help you. And you can also include a picture, which helps us understand better. I'll bet you, by golly, if we'd seen a picture in his attic of that system the way it was put in, you'd probably have a better idea of a part of this problem. So, and that helps us out. We want to do a good job. We post a new one of these every day, 7 days a week at our YouTube channel, Home Show Radio YouTube channel. And, of course, you'll find them and a lot more, including all our trusted Home Show pros, at HomeShowRadio.com.